I think there's a lot of things. I mean, I've been working in the community in Newburgh now for about 30 years. Um, some of the things that stand out a lot for me was working with the Spanish speaking teen moms. That was a big deal, helping them with whatever their needs were, housing, getting their prenatal care, getting everything set up. I wasn't the case manager, I was the case aide. So I served as the bilingual case aide with the case managers to help provide that assistance to the teens. That was a big deal for me. And one thing that stood out in the work that we've done through the Newburgh Healthy Black and Latinx Coalition was the community ID program. Back before the Green Light campaign passed, there were a lot of folks that were undocumented and had no form of identification, which worried me because they were, victims of crimes. They had no way of identifying themselves. If they were in some kind of an accident of some sort, they had no identification for first responders. So we worked with the Worker Justice Center. The coalition hosted these huge events with like 300 people in Newburgh that came looking for identifications. And these were just the community IDs that the Worker Justice Center was able to provide for them. And, people were desperate looking for a way to get some kind of identification. They've been here for a long time. They're really community residents,
Right.
And they just needed something. So for me, the community ID program was huge. And from there, the Green Light campaign started, and the movement was big, and the Green Light campaign, and it passed, and which is awesome. But there's still folks, that need identification that might not be able to get, even though they're undocumented and eligible for the driver's license, they might not be able to afford to pay for that, and they can afford to get another ID. One of the other things that they were doing too was the municipal ID, right? So from that community ID, then you had the municipal ID where all the municipalities in the, around the Hudson Valley were giving out identifications for folks, so for me, that was a big deal. That was a really big deal. And I hope that that made a difference for the folks in the communities that we're serving. Well, one in particular is my mom. My mom is, she raised us as a single mom. We were very small when my parents divorced. And, we lived in East Harlem, in Spanish Harlem, in Barrio, in the project. And a single mom raising 3 kids, working as a clerk in a hospital. She struggled, it was tough. I can always remember walking down the street and seeing her coming with bags in her hands, right, of groceries, la
Con las
compra.
bolsas.
She went to the, yeah, she went to the local marqueta and bought food or whatever she needed, to cook dinner for us. And, there was no car. She'd get off the bus at the supermarket and grab the stuff that she needed and walked, blocks to bring the food home to then start cooking. And, and she struggled, but, she was strong, and she was very strong. She taught me to be strong. Don't give up, she never did. She was the first one in her family to go to high school. I was the first one to graduate from college in my family. My sister's a doctor, which is great, but, I was the first one that graduated from college. So, she taught me to be strong and not give up, and just keep moving forward, and fight for what you feel is, is right.
And you have
And
done that
that's,
very well.
yeah, thank you.
You really have.
I
And
don't
now,
fight just for myself. I fight for everybody, right? And especially the Latinx community and the Black community. It's like, don't give up, fight, do what you have to do, move forward, and make a difference for
you've done
yourself,
that
your
very
family,
well.
your community. I think if we all gave ourselves the opportunity to learn about the injustices that have happened throughout the years, that continue to happen to this day, if people were receptive to learning about the history, right? The history of slavery and how it affects us today, right? the history in this country around white supremacy, and how people have been so disenfranchised, right? And not given an opportunity to move forward just because of the color of their skin, just
Right.
because they're a person that's not a white male, mostly white male American, right? Because women are still struggling to get ahead, right? And to even earn equal salaries, you know, as men. Be open, and there's so many opportunities for training and for, you know, to learn about what the past has done to the present, so that we could change the future, right? And unity. We need to stop this divisiveness in this country. We need to unite and, you know, work together to make a better place for our kids in the future, you know. And these schools need to implement, you know, programs, elementary school, middle school, high school. They need to teach us about the history. I didn't learn about the history. I'm a baby boomer, right? So I went to school in the 60s and 70s. They didn't teach us what they should have been teaching us, right? Things that I'm learning today. I'm reading books and I'm saying, I didn't know that happened. I didn't know that happened. How's that possible that in this country, they're not teaching our kids what they need to learn about the history of this country, right? So there's so many things. I could just go on and on about
Oh, no, yeah.
what needs to change, right? What really needs to change.